My friends, let me begin with a question. When the pages of your life story are finally closed, what will remain? Not the size of your home, not the balance in your bank account, but the imprints you have left on the hearts of others. There is a saying that echoes softly in the halls of wisdom. You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. As we walk through the later seasons of life, it becomes clear that true success is not measured in years lived, but in meaning created. Dr. Charles Stanley often reminded us that each day is an opportunity to live with purpose. And purpose does not diminish with age, it deepens. The question is not, how long do we have, but rather, what are we doing with the time we have? Consider the garden you may have tended in your younger years. Each seed you planted bore fruit, not instantly, but over time. In the same way, the kindness, wisdom, and guidance you sow in the lives of others today will continue to grow long after the planting. Perhaps you recall the gentle words of a teacher, or the steady hand of a parent or friend that shaped who you became. That is the power of a life that counts. When we speak of living a life that counts, we must begin with the foundation of inner well-being. For a house to stand tall through storms, its roots must go deep into the earth. In the same way, if we wish to live meaningfully in our later years, we must cultivate peace within the soul and calmness within the heart. Health of the body is important, but it cannot fully carry you if the mind is restless and the spirit unsettled. I once heard a wise elder say, "The greatest wealth you can possess in old age is a heart at rest." Many people spend their younger years chasing possessions, achievements, or recognition, only to discover that when the hair turns gray, these things do not quiet the mind in the stillness of the night. What quiets the mind is knowing that your days were not wasted, that you have loved sincerely, that you have forgiven freely, and that you have walked with a sense of purpose beyond yourself. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who had spent his entire life building businesses and amassing riches. When he finally retired, his body was weary and his heart uneasy. He had all the comforts money could buy, yet he confessed to a friend, "I do not feel alive inside." That same friend, who had lived a simpler life, said gently, "You have filled your hands but not your soul." That night, the man could not sleep. He realized he had neglected the one treasure that matters most, inner peace. From that day on, he devoted time each morning to reflection, prayer, and gratitude. Slowly, his face softened, his laughter returned, and he often said, "I am finally beginning to live." This story reminds us that nurturing the spiritual and emotional self is not an afterthought. It is the core of a meaningful existence. Each morning when you wake, before you touch your phone, before you turn on the television, give yourself a moment of silence. Listen to the rhythm of your breath. Whisper a prayer of thanks for one more day. Recall something or someone you love deeply. This simple act of grounding will prepare your mind to walk through the day with steadiness. The truth is, the storms of life do not cease simply because we grow older. Loss still comes, health still shifts, and uncertainty still knocks on the door. But when your inner world is calm, you are like a tree whose roots reach deep into the earth. Though the winds may sway its branches, the tree does not fall. As the old saying goes, peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of God in the midst of it. And now, when we turn our gaze outward, we must ask, what gives lasting sweetness to our days? The answer, again and again, is relationships. The value of a life is often measured in the faces that smile when your name is spoken. The spirit is the root of a meaningful life. Relationships are its branches, spreading shade, beauty, and fruit to those around you. Consider for a moment the meals shared with family, the long conversations with friends, the touch of a child's small hand slipping into yours. These are the memories that outshine the brightest gold. An elder once told me, "When I look back, I don't remember the awards I won. I remember my grandson's laughter. I remember holding my wife's hand under the stars. I remember the nights we stayed up late telling stories." Those are the treasures that age cannot steal. But relationships are not maintained by accident. They require intention. A flower that is not watered will wither, no matter how beautiful it once was. In the same way, the bonds with our loved ones need constant care. A phone call to an old friend, a smile for the neighbor, a kind word to the nurse who visits. These may seem small, but their impact is great. Often it is not the grand gestures that deepen love, but the daily drops of kindness that accumulate into rivers of trust. Let me share another story. A woman in her 80s would spend every Sunday afternoon writing letters to her children and grandchildren. Though some of them lived just a few streets away, she wrote about her thoughts, her prayers for them, and often included little pieces of wisdom she had learned through the years. Many times the letters went unanswered. But when she passed away, her family discovered a drawer filled with those letters they had kept but never fully read. They wept as they opened them one by one, realizing she had poured her love into every line. Her words became a legacy, a voice that still guided them even after she was gone. She had lived a life that counted, not because she traveled the world or gained great fame, but because she invested her heart into her relationships. We must also be mindful of how relationships influence our health. Studies have shown that loneliness can harm the body as much as smoking or poor diet. Yet companionship, whether through family, friends, or community strengthens not only the spirit but also the immune system and the mind. Laughter with others lightens stress, and conversations keep the memory sharp. A simple act of sitting together for tea can brighten the day more than any medicine. As it is said, a shared joy is a double joy, and a shared sorrow is half a sorrow. In caring for relationships, forgiveness plays a role greater than we often realize. Carrying bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to fall. It only weighs the heart down, steals rest, and clouds the joy of living. Perhaps you have someone in your past who hurt you deeply. The wound may still ache, but forgiveness does not mean you agree with what they did. It means you are choosing to set yourself free. By releasing the burden, you allow room for peace to enter. As a wise voice once said, forgiveness is not a gift to the other, it is a gift you give to yourself. So, nurturing your inner peace and cherishing your relationships are not two separate paths. They are intertwined, like the roots and branches of the same tree. When your soul is calm, you can love more generously, and when you love more generously, your soul becomes calmer. Together they create a life that truly counts. In the quiet of the evening, when the world slows down and you sit with your thoughts, remember that no one will measure your worth by the size of your possessions or the titles you carried. You will be remembered by the peace you carried in your spirit and the love you sowed in. When we speak of honoring the gift of life, we cannot overlook the body that carries us through every day of it. The body is not a burden but a vessel entrusted to us, one we are called to treat with care and gratitude. It is often in our later years that we realize how precious simple movements are. The ease of standing from a chair, the strength to walk without pause, the balance to carry a grandchild safely in our arms. Health is not about chasing youth but about preserving the dignity and freedom of living. A wise teacher once said, "Your body is the house in which your spirit lives. Treat it with respect, so that your spirit may flourish." Many people spend decades neglecting their health, assuming the body will always keep pace. Yet just as a garden left unattended grows wild and weak, a body ignored soon loses its vigor. But even now, every choice you make can plant seeds of vitality. Choosing water over sugary drinks, a short walk over a long nap, and calm breathing over anxious thoughts are not minor decisions. They are acts of stewardship, saying to life itself, "I value this time I have been given." Let me tell you the story of an elderly man who lived in a small village. He was past 80, yet every morning he walked to the nearby fields, carrying a small basket of fresh fruit to share with the children who played there. When asked how he remained so strong, he simply smiled and said, "I rise with the sun. I eat what nourishes me. I rest when my body asks, and I move when my body can." He had no expensive remedies, no secret diets. What he had was a deep respect for the natural rhythms of his body. His vitality was not an accident. It was the fruit of daily choices made in humility. Often, we forget that movement is life. Muscles are not lost because of age, but because they are left unused. A simple routine of walking, stretching, or practicing balance can make the difference between dependence and freedom. Think of the old proverb, "A rolling stone gathers no moss." In the same way, a body in gentle motion resists the stiffness and heaviness that come with stillness. Every step you take, even around your home, is not only strengthening your legs but also telling your heart and lungs that you still choose to live fully. Rest, too, is part of health. Some wear tiredness as a badge of honor, as though rest were weaknesses. Yet rest is the quiet healer, the invisible physician that repairs the body while we sleep. When you lie down at night, do not think of it as losing time. Think of it as receiving a gift. The mind clears, the cells restore, the heart renews its strength. To rest is to trust that tomorrow has been prepared for you. But health is not only physical, it is deeply tied to the choices of the mind. Worry, regret, and bitterness weigh more heavily than any illness. They bend the shoulders, slow the step, and steal the joy of living. To guard your health, you must guard your thoughts. Choose gratitude each morning, for gratitude lifts the heart and strengthens the body. Even in the smallest things, the warmth of tea, the laughter of a child, the beauty of a sunrise, there is enough to keep the spirit alive. When we shift from caring for the body to considering the legacy we leave behind, the journey becomes even more profound. Legacy is not the wealth in your account or the land in your name. Legacy is the mark your life makes on others, the ripple of kindness that continues long after you are gone. An old man once planted a tree that would not bear fruit for many years. His neighbor asked, "Why do you plant what you may never eat from?" The man replied, "Because someone planted trees before me, and I have enjoyed their shade. It is my turn to give." This is the essence of leaving a legacy, to act today, not for yourself, but for those who come after you. Think of the stories you share with your grandchildren, the values you model when you show patience, the wisdom you pass on when you speak from the lessons of your own life. These are treasures that will not fade. Long after your hands can no longer hold, your words and your example will remain. Someone once said, "We live twice, the first time in our own life, and the second in the memories of those we leave behind." And legacy is not built through grand gestures alone. A kind smile given at the right time, a word of encouragement offered when someone feels unseen, or a prayer Spoken quietly for another, these are the seeds that grow into forests in the hearts of others. You may never know the impact of such acts, but rest assured, they do not disappear. They echo through the lives you touch. Let me share a story of a grandmother known in her town for always keeping a jar of sweets by her door. Any child who passed by could knock, and she would welcome them with a smile and a sweet. Decades later, many of those children now grown still remembered her kindness. They said, it wasn't the candy that mattered, it was how she made us feel safe and loved. She had lived a life that counted, and her legacy was not in riches but in the warmth she left in the hearts of others. You may wonder, what can I give at this age? The truth is, you hold the most precious gift of all, wisdom. Wisdom cannot be bought. It is forged through years of joys and sorrows, triumphs and failures, moments of strength and moments of weakness. The younger generation longs for this guidance, even if they do not always say so. Share with them the lessons you have learned, not with the pride of someone who has never erred, but with the humility of one who has walked the road long enough to understand its turns. There is a saying, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. Today, with every act of kindness, with every word of guidance, you are planting such trees. You may not see all their fruit, but you will have given something that lasts beyond your years. So, in these later chapters of life, let health be your offering of gratitude and legacy be your offering of love. Care for the body so that it continues to serve your spirit well, and care for others so that your life continues to shine even when you are no longer here. For, in the end, a life that counts is not measured by how long it lasted, but by how deeply it touched the world around it. So, as we reflect today, let us remember, a life that counts is not about doing grand things, it is about doing small things, with great love, about using the wisdom gathered through the years to guide, to heal, and to uplift. Each sunrise you see is not just another diet, it's another chance to add one more note of kindness to the song of your life.